Something special is happening in Winnipeg. After one of the worst performances of the entire season, they bounced back with a great win against a divisional opponent in overtime, with two players specifically showing off surprise performances. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Hat-Trick HQ and Winnipeg Jets Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 72% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the NHL and the Winnipeg Jets, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. But KC, welcome in to Jets Digest and, of course, Hat-Trick HQ. But we're going to dive into the Winnipeg Jets today. And, of course, one of the worst performances of the entire season for the team against the Utah Hockey Club, who, of course, still don't have a name to their team the last couple nights or a couple nights ago. And they bounced back in a huge way. And that, of course, is Neal Pionk scoring a very similar goal to what he scored last year in Denver, or 2 years ago, I should say, in Denver. And the puck must go a little faster in the altitude, he said. I don't know what it is. But Neal Pionk has been a great player for not only this team, but I think he's an underrated defenseman in the league. He also has some snarl to his game. What have you seen from this player the last couple of years, and obviously this season too? He's been a big part of this team, and as Dylan Samberg has come back from injury, that pairing when they do play together has been really good for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys who was very underrated before this season. I think he's been a consistently good defenseman for Winnipeg for a very long time. But this year is the year where his name is getting out there. He's becoming more of a household name, not just in Winnipeg, but around the entire NHL. I mean, he is coming off as one of the better offensive type defenseman in the league, or maybe not offensive type defenseman, but a defenseman with a booming shot. I mean, this is what we see. I mean, just last night, the last game, he won in overtime, 17 seconds in, with a booming slap shot. And this is what Pionk brings. He brings a big shot, but like you said, he also brings that grit as well. He's not afraid to dump somebody in the corner. He's not afraid to step up and throw a shoulder into somebody. So maybe not label him as an offensive defenseman is the way to go. Maybe I would say he leans more two-way here because he can get it done on the defensive side, but he also has that amazing shot that a lot of NHL teams are looking for.
It almost seems like a lost art right now. And speaking of lost art, I mean, head coach Scott Arniel came out to say that, the hip checks that he's been throwing, not just this year, but throughout his career, are a lost art. And they really are. He's one of the only guys in the league right now that'll throw some of these hip checks, right? And the slap shot, I think, from the point has become a lost art in the NHL for defensemen. You see these new age defensemen like Quinn Hughes, like Cale Makar that we saw last night. And obviously, they don't have these booming shots from the point anymore, but Neal Pionk does have that. And if you take a look at his stats so far this season, since Dylan Samberg's come back from injury, they've looked fantastic together. They were looking great before Dylan Samberg got hurt. I've been saying on the channel all year that he's been the glue guy for Neal Pionk, and Neal Pionk has a lot of skills. I'll put it that way. He has a great toolbox, right, that he can pull from. Maybe not offensive, not 100% offense or 100% defense, of course, one way or the other, but a nice two-way guy that has a lot of tools, right? And again, 31 points in 49 games is great for this defenseman. He's playing on your second pairing, and he's only 29 years old. So playing a lot of ice time, too, this year as well. That's very underrated of him. So he's been showing out so far this season. Again, lost start. But another guy we have to talk about, Casey, is obviously Gabriel Vilardi. He's having his best season ever, right? He's having his best season since he's come over, obviously, from the Los Angeles Kings. He got a lucky one last night. Morrissey was shooting it, like 10 feet wide, and it ended up going off of him and in. But what are you seeing from Gabe Vilardi this year, too? Because he's had a really good year. In fact, a career year with his 20th goal on the season last night.
Yeah, I mean, what a pleasant surprise Gabe Vilardi has been for this Winnipeg Jets team, because at the beginning of this season, you couldn't ask for more of what he's producing right now. It seems like every night or every second night, he's putting a point up on the board. He's putting a goal in the back of the net. He has been a staple of this Winnipeg Jets offense this season. He's just set his career high in points. And like you said, he just hit the 20-goal mark for the third time in his career. It seems like Vilardi is buzzing on a completely different level this season. And it has really helped this Winnipeg Jets team. They've been so dominant this year, just because their goaltending has been so solid, but their offense has been contributing this year to what we've seen in previous years where maybe some games they couldn't buy a goal. But it seems like this year they're getting offense from other players like a Vilardi rather than just relying on a Kyle Connor or a Scheifele every night. I mean, I think that's what has been the key to their success is Vilardi's success. And it seems like he's going to keep going right now. I mean, while we're halfway through the season, he's probably on pace for around 70 points at this point. So I think it'd be great to see him get that mark, just setting his career high. The sky's the limit for this guy right now.
No, he's a great player. I think he's such a great compliment. I keep saying a compliment piece to that first line because he's usually a guy that'll hover around, right, like 40 points. 35 points, something like that, notoriously in his career. But it's the way that he plays, that hard-nosed style, the heavy style that I think was complementing, obviously, Scheifele in the middle. So I've been saying that all year, but he's not a compliment piece anymore. He's one of the best players on that line, one of the best players on this team, and he's only going to surpass this at this season. So obviously, I think that 70 points could be in the future for Gabe Vilardi. He's had a great season so far, and if you told us last year, this player might be almost a point-a-game player, I think Jets fans would take that. That's fantastic. This trade, the PLD trade, is looking better by the day for the Winnipeg Jets. And again, if you look at his stats so far this season, 42 points in 49 games. He's playing a significant amount of ice time. Doesn't, play in all situations or anything like that, but he's still, a lot of people forget, very young player. He's only going to be 26. So there's still a lot of growth for this player that I don't think that he was going to get in LA either. I think it was a weird situation, a weird fit there, but we're certainly seeing it now with Gabe Vilardi. So that's great. And again, obviously coming off of the worst performance of this season, because the Jets started on fire, right? And then they had a little bit of a lull heading into November, into December a little bit. Now they're back on track. They can't really score when their backup goalie's in net, but when Connor Hellebuyck's in net, they have a very good chance to win. Obviously against Utah was an embarrassing performance, but they bounced back. In KC, they're 32, 14, and 3 on this season. Very respectable around the league. I mean, like top of the league, right? And they've been there all season. The Avalanche are right behind them, as you can see there. This was a big win in overtime just to steal that extra point away from them. Where do you see this Winnipeg Jets team going this year? Because a lot of fans are very skeptical about the playoffs because this is a great team. They've seen great teams in the past. They're looking like they're going to finish first in the Central. Do you see this team finding playoff success?
I think we're seeing the success in the regular season, but it seems eerily similar to me to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I hate to say it. We see them play so good in the regular season. This team looks dominant. They get to the playoffs, and it just all falls apart from them. Ever since they got swept by Montreal in the COVID year, this team's confidence in the playoffs has been completely shaken. So I think, they are on a dominant pace right now. They're getting a lot of efficient scoring throughout their lineup. Could this be the year they get it done in the playoffs? I hope so for you Winnipeg Jets fans because, Leafs fans know what it's like to go into the playoffs and lose in the first, second round and as well as Jets fans, unfortunately. But I think this year, I don't want to say is the year, but I think it is. They're going to find some success here in the playoffs. I think if they can keep up the pace they're on right now, they're getting back on track with that big win last night. So I think we can see some success. It's going to be hard though if they're going up against a Colorado in a conference final or something to get to that cup final. But they really need to dig deep. Like McDavid would say, and find a way to get it done here because I think they have the talent. The talent is there. They have Scheifele, they have Connor, they have Pionk, they have so many guys breaking out this season. Even Cole Perfetti has been a great guy for this team this year. I think they have a lot of efficient scorers, and if they can get that to translate into the playoffs, I think they will find some success.
I think this team, the sky's the limit for this team on paper, like you said. You look at this lineup, obviously it's missing Lowry right now. He's out due to injury that was sustained against Utah, but you look at this lineup, the thing that's impressed me the most about the Winnipeg Jets this year is their ability to bounce back when they lose and put together a lot of wins, a couple wins after they lose in embarrassing fashion, and everybody stepping up. The next man up mentality. Iafallo started the year on the fourth line. He's now on the first line, right? Like they found some chemistry with Ehlers and Lowry. Like whoever's up next is taking that opportunity and making the most of it. And I think that's the most impressive thing about the Jets this year. I do still think they have to go out and get a center. I do still think that they're going to go out and get a defenseman, and that could help put them over the top, because one thing that's also impressive, they haven't made any earth-shattering moves like some other teams either, right? Like, a lot of these guys are homegrown. A lot of these guys have been here for a little while. So it is pretty impressive, but we do want to hear what you have to say in the comments about the Winnipeg Jets this season. As of late, their ability to bounce back is very impressive, and if you haven't yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on in the NHL and, of course, the Winnipeg Jets.